So as far as I know, bigorexia is a very recent term, so if you Google it, it's there. But bigorexia refers to the psychological disorder of muscle dysmorphia, which is one of the body dysmorphic disorders, along with anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. These are disorders which basically involve a seriously warped perception of oneself, a damaged self-image, if you will. And it originally was known as reverse anorexia because of the tendency for someone with the disorder to want to put on weight, and not just any weight, but muscular weight. So originally it was not well understood, and it wasn't very prominent. There wasn't any research done on it. It tended to affect only men. The parameters for the diagnosis were not well defined, and it is a fairly recent entry in the DSM-4. I believe it's the DSM-4 TR now, which is the kind of tomb or guiding Bible of psychological disorders. It's about how people perceive themselves, and that's why it's considered a body dysmorphic disorder, just like anorexia and bulimia, which is the seeking out of thinness because you perceive yourself as being too fat. The people with muscle dysmorphia perceive themselves as being too small or too weak, okay? And even presented with evidence of the contrary, you could measure their upper arm measurement, you could measure their chest measurement or their thigh, or how small their waist is in proportion to their chest, show them that very clearly, and they would still believe that they're small. So, one of the factors in the prevalence of bigorexia, in an increase in incidence and diagnosis, is that in today's society we have much more bombardment of the media by these what we could call hyper-masculine images. So if you look at the movie stars of the 1940s, 1950s, and even 1960s, they were good-looking guys who got the job done, the action heroes of their era, but they were not overly muscular men. John Wayne was a tall dude, 6'4", but he was a stick in comparison to many of the action stars of starting from like the 1980s on. And one only really need look at the development of action figures and dolls and see with women, you can see what happened to Barbie over the decades and how her shape became an exaggeration of the feminine, what we would generally associate with the feminine. Whether or not it's actually feminine is a completely different story. So if you look at action figures of today, I mean, some of these figures have these completely unrealistic human proportions. If you look at the Greek ideal, the ancient Greek ideal was that a man's neck circumference, his upper arm measurement, and his calf circumference were roughly the same. And if you look at a G.I. Joe figure,